If I can't keep my head held high enough, I'll just speak love and watch the smiles come, bring my spirits up. There's some shit I like to fix, but I still know that I'm blessed.
All right, guys, I just finished up with the hearing on the Kristin Smart case today, which is January 21st of 2022. And you can see I got a lot of notes here. So, going to review a couple things here and then do the rest as a voiceover. And as we know, purple's her favorite color. So yeah, there's a lot of pages here. So bear with me as I review them. It's too time consuming to rewrite. So I'll cover them shortly. Okay, guys, I'm going to review my notes from the hearing today. The hearing was almost an hour long, so hopefully I can cover this comprehensively. And I'm just going to go in order of the notes because I literally have like 13 pages of notes. So, let's see, we want to cover that the motion the defense filed on 12/21/21 was 83 pages, and I covered that in previous episodes, the last 2 episodes if you want to check with that. And then the prosecution replied to that motion January 14th of 2022. Their response was only 47 pages long. And the district attorney Dow, along with his deputy DA, basically stated there's ample evidence to move forward. And there's a rational basis for the Van Rooyen. I might be pronouncing that wrong. It's spelled Rooyen. So the holding order. And they're also requesting denial of the various motions the defense has in their documents, their 83-page document. And of course, it's been way too long. This all happened May 25 of 1996. And not only are they accusing him of murder, but they're saying that the killing was committed in the process of him attempting to rape her. And of course, we know his father, Reuben, is an accessory. I condensed the notes because there's a lot. A lot of it's already known to the public, so I'm not going to just repeat all the stuff they covered, but I will cover some tidbits. There was a few things that I was not aware of. And so you'll see there's case-related photos in the beginning, and then it'll transition to pictures of photos of nature and clips of that. I want to just remind everybody the beauty of Kristin and what this is all about and who we're fighting for here and who we want justice for. So that's why the second half will be those kind of things, signifying the beauty of Kristin. Even though this is an ugly, horrible case, we're really hoping we get justice. Okay, so here we go. Gonna review the notes. I'm gonna be like Lauren Scharf, which she covered some Colorado cases. Any of you true crime followers, you know who she is. Of course, I'm not as good as her, but I'm going to try to review these notes. So I attended the live stream today for SLO County Superior Court. It was supposed to be scheduled for an 8 a.m. hearing. Of course, they're never on time. I realized that you're prohibited from taping or sharing. So that's when I realized I'm going to have to take a lot of notes. I couldn't do any screen grabs or anything. And luckily, I've had a lot of practice doing notes over the years in school and work and things like this. You never know when your acquired skills are going to serve you in life. So don't forget those skills can overlap and be helpful later. And then the rest of it is kind of what I'd be saying live if I was waiting with you guys, because it kept saying, please wait, stream has not started. But I could see the little dots moving, and you'll see the screenshots in the beginning showing what I was seeing as I was waiting. And of course, I was worrying that it was going to malfunction. I was going to miss something, because it seems like oftentimes with organizational live feeds, there's obviously problems a lot of times where you get dumped off, it doesn't start, there's no audio, the list goes on and on. So I'm keeping my fingers crossed at this point, waiting. That was 8 minutes into waiting that the proceeding would start. I kept refreshing the screen. And it kept saying, please wait. So I just kept waiting and waiting. I would check the phone link. I'd go back to the screen, check the different departments. I was thinking maybe the transporting of Paul from jail possibly caused delays because the jail's pretty far, actually. It's out in the boonies, not like downtown, like where I grew up in Napa. They literally go in a tunnel under from the jail and into the courthouse. So they've got to drag them quite a bit, actually, because it's on the outskirts of town. Okay, continuing on with these notes. Let me see here. Oh, I was just thinking how interesting it is that even old towns from the late 1700s and 1800s, the jail building is usually still standing because, of course, they're built to last. And one of these days I got to get you guys to the village to show you the Hooskow jail that they still have there from the 1800s. And you could also tell a lot by the lawless of the town by how big the jail was. A lot of them were 1 or 2 rooms, and then you've got the bigger ones, which could tell you a lot about those old towns. But anyway, I digress. This is when I was waiting for the hearing to start, so let's see here. Sorry, I'm scanning down on the notes. Bear with me. Sorry, guys, I'm scanning down here. Okay, so at this point, I've been waiting for about a half hour. Rushed out to make my tea in between thinking, if I go make tea, the proceeding will start. But that didn't work either. Sorry, guys, I got a phone call. I'm recording this on the phone, so it bumped me off. So eventually, the proceeding began, and Sanger, the attorney for the defense, spoke first, and he brought up again about the prosecution wearing purple in support of Kristin and her family. He says it was inappropriate support of a website and the agenda related to the website, and it's to support conviction based on the website. And to be honest, this is just my opinion, but he sounded ridiculous. That was already ruled on before, so I don't even know why he's bringing it up. He also brought off the testimony of Jennifer Hudson, referring to it as strange testimony and evidence that made no sense. He said he wasn't going to repeat most of what he had already supplied to the court in his motion. And he did make a weird statement saying, and this is streaming to the public, so it's not our opportunity to grandstand for the public, which was kind of weird. And he wanted to make sure the judge had reviewed even all the sealed documents. Then Ruben's attorney briefly came on, Mr. Music, I believe his name is, Music. And he only spoke for just a few minutes. And he basically went on to say the proof and the fact that the case is so weak is how long the preliminary hearing took. That most preliminary hearings would take a few hours, maybe a few days. But this particular preliminary hearing took over 21 days. And he says that's because the quality and lack thereof evidence, and there's not sufficient evidence to move forward. So that was basically what he said, and it was brief. And the judge then confirmed that she did review all the transcripts and all the documents to reassure the defense. And then she went into, the prosecution then spoke briefly. They covered the dog handler evidence, and they went section for each handler and each section of pages. And there was pages and pages and pages and pages related to that evidence. There was several independent dogs and handlers. And let's see, transcripts mentioned by defense. Oh, that's right. So the defense puts things into evidence that were not actually part of the court record. And the prosecution wanted to consider that only 48 minutes were what could be submitted to the court and the rest cannot be considered. That was related to the dog handling testimony, apparently. And the judge then begins speaking. She talks about how the purple tie ruling where prosecution were purple in court has already been ruled on by another judge. And that's not what she's here for. She's ruling on the motion to dismiss and only that. And Sanger said that he worried about that witnesses would be prejudiced because of wearing of the purple. And he went on and on about more nonsensical detail related to this purple. He actually talked about it quite a bit. And to me, it appeared as if the judge was trying to separate her role from his complaints regarding wearing purple. And Singer even mentioned gang colors and talked about how that causes problems and colors can cause problems in trials. He went on and on and on about this. And he also brought up the Miranda rights and that Paul was told he couldn't leave by the police department in Arroyo Grande that June of 96 when they were interviewing him. So Singer is saying that should be considered custodial interrogation or not, and that's a big concern for him. And then he went on with the dog handler testimony as well and referred to the first handler in particular and said that she couldn't remember anything. She was very vague, that these dog handlers are from a volunteer group and they use, in their free time, they come and help with these cases. And none of them could testify to proficiency regarding false alerts in particular. And he also mentioned alert is not evidence. Dogs are a tool to find evidence. He quoted cases in the motion. Many cases were quoted. The testimony was long with little facts. He said that the testimony by the handlers was long with little facts and mentions other alerts and quotes those cases. He compares it to the fact that there was other alerts by dogs off campus, out at Wasna, and there was no evidence found at those locations either. He refers to the dorm room being cleaned out, and therefore the dog alert should not be considered reliable, and went on to minimize the knowledge of these handlers and how this is not evidence, and quoted different dog cases that he thinks relate to that. As the judge went on, you'll see that I really noticed the judge clued into how Paul's a liar and went over many, many times he lied. I didn't catch them all, but some of them will show up here in my notes. So Paul was wearing a dark suit today, a dark suit jacket with a white shirt and like a patterned tie. There was a correctional officer on one side of him, and then his attorney Singer and another female colleague were on the other side of him. There was 2 attorneys present for the prosecution. Nobody was wearing purple today, which we've discussed already. Ruben's attorney was in attendance via Zoom, and the motion to dismiss would have covered both father and son had it been granted. It was for both of them. Everybody in attendance wore masks. There was about 9 spectators in the galley, and at least what I could see in the screen, in the view of the camera. And best I could tell, there was 3 males and 6 females, and I'm 90% sure I did see Susan kind of hiding behind the head of the correction officer, but not 100% sure because I could not see her face. The judge went on to quote many cases regarding how and why evidence is set aside and that there needs to be a total absence of evidence in order to set aside. She says that it's not her job to measure the weight of the evidence. And she went on to quote different points regarding the soil and the dogs, etc. She reviewed her decision in sections. She also went over the fact of whether Paul's 5th and 6th Amendment rights were violated regarding Miranda laws. Okay, let's see. Okay, so she went on to kind of set the stage in order. She talked about how that Sunday, Kristin's mom had missed her phone call, and she'd never missed a call on a Sunday before like that. So that's where her concerns started. The judge went into detail about what Kristin was last seen wearing and that she had no purse and wallet, and that was by multiple people confirming what she was wearing. She referred to the page number as page 980 in that case. I didn't quote most page numbers because there were just so many. Tim Davis also testified that what she was wearing and that Paul had hugged Kristin that night. Her roommate said she had last seen her May 24th as she was headed to the party on Crandall Way, which all of us know about the party. let's see. I was expecting a pretty quick process, but as I said, it went on for almost an hour. Let's see. Yeah, the judge obviously had reviewed all this prior and had a good understanding of the ruling today. It wasn't like she just got it today and made a choice. She's had it since December, and then the reply since January 14th. Okay, so let's see here. Notes. Jacqueline Duffy, by the way, is who resided over this. This was just a special hearing. Now that she decided it can move forward, it'll go back to the previous judge. All right, let's see here. What's on this page? Oh, the judge was setting the stage through witness testimony that Kristin was highly intoxicated that night. And she went on and quoted several witnesses and what they had said regarding that. It was stated that Paul was last seen with his arm around her waist, and no one saw her after that. Multiple times the judge confirmed how highly intoxicated she was, that Kristin was found face down on the lawn on Crandall Way, and she was not able to walk on her own. Tim Davis, one of the witnesses, said he had to support her to walk on her own. The judge continued to review all that is public knowledge, and a lot of it we've known for quite some time. Let's see. On May 28th, I guess Paul was interviewed at the dorm, and he lied and said he didn't even talk to Kristin that night, despite many witnesses seeing them together. He also said he was not interested in her, yet he had asked someone else at the party about her, as if he was interested. Finally, after lying, because Paul lies a lot, he admitted that he walked her to her dorm, went to his dorm alone. He also lied and said she was fine, and she wasn't leaning on him, and she was walking just fine, which we know that's a total lie. He also lied and said he never asked Cheryl for a hug and a kiss, and we know testimony from Cheryl, who was walking along with him that night, has clearly said all along that he was creepy and asking her for a hug and kiss and such. They went on to talk about how the police, when they interviewed Paul on the 26th, that he had a black eye on his right eye. He had scrapes on his knees. Now, I don't remember hearing that. I found that interesting. He said it was all from basketball, but his friend Jeremy testified that he already had the black eye by Sunday morning and that he had played basketball with him, and he doesn't remember anything like that where he got hit or anything. He had that black eye when he woke up Sunday morning when Jeremy saw him first thing. Paul also lied and said he never touched her at the party at all, and he had no attraction to her. He reiterated that again when there's witness testimony that he was pursuing her, that he fell on top of her. So he's just a big fat liar, as they say. They talked about how later he changed the story that he got the black eye in basketball to that he got the black eye when he was working on a stereo in a vehicle. They talked about the dogs hitting multiple times in the dorm rooms, and these were all independent dogs, and they were trained to hit on human remains, and they were reliable for that purpose. They went on to quote other cases and mention specifically the bed frame and the desk area the dog hit in his dorm. They talked about in March and April of 2021, the search at the 710 White Court address of Paul's father, Reuben. They did find an anomaly under the deck. It was 4 feet deep, and it was large enough for remains to be put there. And that's the cadaver dogs hit on that. They found a stain in the soil, which is a general indication of burial. The stain was about 3 feet deep within the hole, and they took several samples, which they turned over to the Soilological Research Institute, which are the specialists. They reviewed these and said that the soil samples were positive for human blood. Let's see. They also said on 9:47 a.m. the following morning when Kristin went missing that Paul called his father, and his father went and picked him up and brought him to his home in Arroyo Grande at 710 White Court. By the way, we've gone past that. If you want to see the drive and more detail on Paul and Susan's homes, we do have that on the playlist. I recommend checking that out. You can get an idea of the distance and such. Okay. Oh, and this was interesting. Apparently, Stan Smart went to the home at 710 White Court and was threatened by Ruben, where he basically told him to get out, said, you better get out of here or someone might get shot. So I didn't know about that. That was quite interesting. All right, on the last page. Let's see, this evidence was all previously submitted. The judge denied the motion. He set aside the motion for both defendants, Paul and Ruben. So, sorry guys, you're going to trial, just as we all hoped and expected, but you never know. So it's a great relief for me. So let's see. Then they went off record and went back and forth about scheduling dates. And I guess off the record just means the stenographer, or whatever she's called at this point, he or she, that they're not going on record and putting that in the court record as they discussed. Now we know why they were late. Apparently there was a police pursuit and a car accident that Sanger, the defense attorney, got caught in today. And that's why he said he was late. I checked the news and I couldn't find detail on the police pursuit or the accident. It could have been in Santa Barbara because I do believe he drives from Santa Barbara County, where we're here in San Luis Obispo County. Okay, so looks like these are the dates coming up, and I will keep them on my calendar and attend as I'm able, whether it be virtual or in person. In person, I'm not going to try to do that until the April hearing. But on February 2nd, they're going to do a pretrial conference at 8:30, same Department 5, SLO County Superior Court. April 6th, they're going to have a readiness training and hearing, not training. Readiness training on April 25th at 8:30. That's when the jury trial is supposed to start. And the judge says all indications are that it will move forward on that day. Of course, they've got to select the jury and all those things take time. Let's see. Oh, this was kind of funny. The judge asked Sanger, the defense attorney, if Paul wanted to be present that day for the hearings and that it wasn't really necessary for those preliminary hearings. And Sanger said there's no need. And he turned to Paul and asked him. And let's see. I want to quote Paul properly. Here we go. Okay, so Paul said, when he asked him if he wanted to be there, he said, no, I'll come anyway. I'm not doing too much. And there was a word there I couldn't hear, and he said that day. And even his lawyer kind of chuckled a little bit. And his voice was just so weird. It's like he's not taking this very seriously. It was kind of creepy. I don't know how to explain it. And that's at the 53-minute mark. If you are able to access the hearing, it might be worth your while to just check that part out. I found it odd the way that he responded. The judge went back on record then and stated that Mr. Flores wished to be present. She offered video appearances for Sanger if need be, and he basically said no. As long as there's not another police pursuit, and accident in the morning, that he will be there on time. The judge told him she was glad that he made it despite the accident. And back to Susan, I have a note here that besides her kind of hiding back there, if that was her, like I said, I can't say for sure, but she was wearing a white shirt and a black jacket and a black mask. Everybody in the courtroom actually had their mask on at that time. So it's a good thing, by the way, it was not in Department 1. It ended up being in Department 5. So it's a good thing I kept checking back, or I would have missed it altogether. So that's kind of what I mean about how things can kind of be all over the place in court sometimes. All right, guys. So that's what happened in court. And we've got the February court hearing next. And from there we have April 6th, and then the big date, jury selection and jury trial starting April 25th. So I'm so glad the judge denied the motion as expected, and hopefully we're going to be closer to justice for Kristin. Thanks for listening. Bye. I was able to find information about the pursuit, and it looks like a pretty wild situation. Here is the news coverage about it. The guy was going over 100 miles an hour, crashed into cars, cops chasing him, jumped off a bridge. They had to go get him down out of the riverbed. He's hurt really bad. But here's the news coverage. You can see it here. Craziness. I bet the defense attorney was so stressed out, stuck in this traffic.
If I can't keep my head held high enough, I'll just be love and watch the smiles come.
Thanks for watching.
Bring my spirits up.
Don't forget to stop and smell the flowers.
There's some shit I like to fix, but I still